A very good morning. We're starting with the top 5 current affairs for the day to help you through the prelims. So the news item is that LPG bookings have fallen to 77 lakh, alleviating the pressure and the demand surge that was being experienced, because news reached that tankers and vessels, at least related to India, were successfully being allowed to cross the Strait of Hormuz. And this news of the Indian crude tanker sailing out of UAE's Fujairah safely arose when the Liberia flagged Suez Max tanker had begun its recent voyage from Fujairah in the UAE and reached Mumbai port recently. It had been stuck at the Fujairah port between Feb 19th and 28th. An interesting thing about how it crossed the strait is that it did so in dark mode, which means that it went outside of radar systems for quite some time, and this is a tactic that is often used by vessels to transit high risk corridors. It is used by ships to reduce the risk of becoming a target during periods of heightened maritime tension. As regards the two vessels that are moving towards Mumbai, they are Pushpak and Parimal. Regarding India's LPG usage, it is the second largest importer of LPG, and around 29 to 34% of it is actually imported from Qatar. Apart from Qatar, we also of course import from the UAE, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. And why Gulf countries remain a favored point of contact for this is because they have the ideal propane butane mix, which is useful for our conditions and usage. And India is in fact the second largest importer of LPG, which should be remembered. The second piece of news is that Iran has warned against wider war, as Trump has asked allies to escort ships. The important thing in this news item is the allies bit. So we need to understand that Donald Trump, who's the president of the US, has been consistently pressing for other countries to join in and to sort of escort ships safely out of the Strait of Hormuz, which has been shut down by Iran, following the war that has escalated. So the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO as it's usually called, it has 32 member countries, and it was created by a handful of 12 countries from Europe and North America on 4th of April 1949. So those 12 countries are Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, UK and the US. An interesting thing that you would notice here is that Germany is missing from the founding members, and this was because following the two world wars and the role that Germany had played, the Germans were not very keen on rearmament and getting into a political military organization. Now, what these NATO allies essentially do is that they are sovereign states who have come together through NATO to discuss political and security issues, and they make collective decisions by consensus. At the same time, there are countries which have maintained neutrality, in the sense that Iceland being one of them, it is a founding member, but it does not have an active armed force. It has police forces, it also has an air defense system and so on and so forth, but it chooses not to have an army. Similarly, France has maintained an independent role in NATO, in the sense that it has not been very actively involved in giving control over its nuclear policies to NATO. So that's a bit about NATO. The next one is that Trump says US strikes have demolished Iran's Kharg island and has warned of more attacks. What is so interesting about the Kharg island is that it is located 15 nautical miles, about 24 kilometers off Iran's southern coast. And it is at the heart of Iran's oil export system, because what happens is that roughly 90% of Iran's crude oil exports move through this massive oil terminal on the island, and pipelines transport the crude from the mainland Iran to Kharg, where it is loaded onto huge tankers This is, as you can see, where the Kharg island is, and also you can see that there are waters near it, there is a strait, and it is said to have ample capacity, so ships prefer to dock here, and then oil is basically exported to other countries from here. So that is why it has a key role to play, and this warfare that is going on, as we all know, has an economic angle to it as well. So that could be part of the reason why it has attained such popularity. The next piece of news is the PM has lauded the Speaker for conducting Lok Sabha proceedings with dedication, patience and impartiality. The important piece here being what is the role of the Speaker, who is the Speaker of the Parliament. He is elected by members of the Lok Sabha from amongst themselves on a date that is fixed by the President. He acts as the head and spokesperson of the Lok Sabha. His decision on the conduct of business in the House is final, perhaps, which is why he's always subjected to close scrutiny and is always under the scanner. Now, who was the first Speaker of our Parliament? That was Ganesh Vasudev Mavlankar. एंड एक इम्पॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, एक इम्पॉर्टेंट आस्पेक्ट है कि राज्यसभा में जो चेयरपर्सन होते हैं हाउस के, ही इज़ नॉट अ मेंबर ऑफ द हाउस. सो द वाइस प्रेसिडेंट इज़ द एक्स ऑफिशियो चेयरमैन इन द राज्यसभा, बट इट इज़ नॉट सो इन द लोकसभा. लोकसभा में स्पीकर हैं एक तरह से चेयरपर्सन के कैपेसिटी में, एंड ही इज़ वेरी मच अ मेंबर ऑफ द हाउस. As regards the removal of the Speaker, it's provided in Article 94C, which allows the Speaker to be removed by a resolution of the House, and it has to be passed by a majority of all members of the Lok Sabha. Finally, the last piece of news is that the Congress has questioned the centre's stance on the Chabahar port. Chabahar पोर्ट के बारे में जो इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ है, आप देखेंगे कि ये ईरान के जो रेल लिंक है ज़ायदान प्रोविंस से, उससे चाबहार चीज़ें पहुंच सकती हैं इजीली, और फिर यहाँ से ग्वादर पोर्ट को बाईपास करते हुए जो पाकिस्तान में है, ये सीधे मुंबई और कांडला पोर्ट्स पे जा सकती हैं. तो इसलिए ये चाबहार का जो पोर्ट प्रोजेक्ट था भारत के साथ ही बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट था शब्द का इस्तेमाल इसलिए किया जा रहा है क्योंकि इस बार के बजट में चाबहार पोर्ट के लिए कोई भी एलोकेशन नहीं किया गया है, एंड अ पॉइंट दैट हैज़ बीन कंसिस्टेंटली रेज्ड बाय द ऑपोजिशन सेइंग दैट हैज़ इट बीन स्क्रैप्ड, और व्हाट आर यू प्रपोजिंग टू डू विद दैट प्रपोज्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट. क्या अब आप उस प्रोजेक्ट पे ध्यान नहीं देंगे, बिकॉज दे आर सेइंग दैट इट इज़ एन इम्पॉर्टेंट प्रोजेक्ट. चाबहार पोर्ट जो है वो ईरान के, जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं, साउथ ईस्टर्न कोस्ट पे है. स्ट्रेटेजिक इंडिया डेवलप्ड डीप वाटर पोर्ट है. connects India to Afghanistan, Central Asia and Russia via the international north-south transport corridor. And ये सिस्तान बलूचिस्तान प्रोविंस में है. ईरान का ओनली ओशियानिक पोर्ट है that is positioned outside the Strait of Hormuz, and it remains to be seen what the fate of this project would be given the current war situation. Anyway, thank you so much. That was it for today. See you tomorrow.